Hi, welcome to Planetary Calendars, Astro Portraits. I'm Ralph Dimichis, one of the calendar's astrologers, along with Lonnie Dimichis. This is part 3 of our look at Jennifer Lopez, Ben Affleck, and now we're going to look at the two charts together. And every time I finish one, Lonnie then gives me information after the fact that I should have known. For instance, I mentioned about the fact that Jennifer Lopez has Venus in Gemini, so she would tend to do like getting married twice. Well, she's been married actually 4 times, but she and Ben got married twice. They had a surprise wedding when they were away, and they came back and did another wedding when they got back. So, and it's funny because they did it when they were away. Well, Venus in the 9th house, get married some place far away, and then do it again when you get back. That really makes sense. Also, Ben has been married twice. And I mentioned about he has Capricorn in the 7th house, a tendency to marry someone older than themselves. And he was married to Jennifer Garner, who was born in Aries of the same year, so 4 months before him. And then he's married now to Jennifer Lopez, who was born in 1969, and he was born in 1972. So this pattern kind of keeps repeating. Ben has Venus in Cancer. Jennifer has Venus in Gemini. So they're next to each other. They're in the same neighborhood, even though their approaches are quite different. They live next door. So let's look at the charts together. One of the things that really stands out, and it's actually is something pretty positive, is that Ben has Saturn in Gemini, and Jennifer has Venus in Gemini. It goes from 18 degrees to 19 degrees. That's a very close conjunction. The Saturn-Venus conjunction like that, it's one of the places where you like having Saturn around. You like him in the neighborhood. You like the connection. So many times, you get a Saturn transit and think, oh, it's a Saturn transit. I'm going to have to endure this. This particular connection is nice. Remember, Saturn is exalted in Libra. So there's that familial connection already. It's already, it basically means Saturn's best friend or confidant is Venus. So it creates a very strong sense of a confidant relationship between these two planets in the same sign. It means that it's easy communications between them. It means that the Saturn provides the stability and the structure that the Venus likes to live in. And the Venus creates the sense of harmony, grace, and sharing that Saturn needs to feel confident. So it's a real nice connection. But there's also more. It gets good. They have Mercury's conjunct. Ben's is at 10 degrees. Hers is at 3 degrees. This is, once again, very easy communication. Part of the reason why they work well together or live well together is they communicate easily. Okay? Now, there is like a little challenge here because their Mars positions are square to each other within like 2 degrees. His Mars is in Virgo, her Mars is in Sagittarius. That's a little problematic. They could have a tendency to, blow up at each other. They could have a tendency to, want to do things in very different ways. She's in Sagittarius. She could leave a trail of clothes behind her without thinking twice about it, and he would be the person who came along and picked them all up. Okay? And you have to realize the Mars in Virgo position is the one who's always trying to fix everything. They're always trying to make everything better. They're always trying to, they're in their physical bodies, always trying to make order out of chaos. And the Mars in Sagittarius position is not the most chaotic, but it's up in the top 3. Okay, it's in the top 3, up there with probably Mars and Aquarius and maybe Mars and Gemini. I'm trying to think who else would be equally, maybe Mars and Pisces. But this could be a bit of an issue. On the other hand, if they had good staff, it would not be a problem. They both have the moon in Scorpio. Remember, they're both Leos. They both have the moon in Scorpio. The fact they're both Leos, when they were younger, this would definitely have been a challenge. Especially in the arts. These are actors. These are people getting a lot of attention. they really want to shine. And as you know, in the stage, you never want to be upstaged. You don't want someone getting in front of you and upstaging you. It's about, you being visible. Well, they're both like that. They both like that. Tell me how much you love me. Tell me how wonderful I am. So that could cause more of a problem, especially when they were younger. And their need for this need for artists always need reinforcement. They need some type of, bravo, or isn't that good? Because the arts are hard. It's not like being an artist or being an actor or a singer is easy. It's hard. You take these creative leaps out into the void, and you hope that people like it, or that what you're doing is authentic or valuable. And so when you're younger, it's very important to have that support, and having someone who provides that support is very valuable. Well, the thing that's funny is the Leo energy is not that good at providing the support. It's just not their thing. They'll be generous to you, they'll be loving to you, they'll be gracious to you, but they would rather be the one in the spotlight. And so that's one place where these two personalities, could be, at loggerheads. Being older now, it's actually less of an issue. Know why? They have more attention than they know what to do with in their careers. These people are so swamped with people wanting their time, with wanting their attention, with wanting their money, with wanting their, we want you to do this role or that role, or, come perform. They're like swamped with it. So that it's not like that part of their personalities are not being fed to the max. Okay, it's avoiding too much of that stuff that takes up a lot of their time. Avoiding the paparazzi, avoiding being overcommitted takes a bunch of their time. And in that situation, so Leos are a little bit like a group of lions hanging out together. They're content. Lions, after they've already eaten, they're content. They both have the Scorpio moon, but their Scorpio moons are very different. Ben's is very early in the sign, 4 degrees. So the background of that is actually Libra, okay? So his moon is much more about being deeply involved, being a confidant, but in partnership with other people, in terms of a desire to create harmony. And it's very true in his personality because he has Venus and Cancer rising. This desire to have harmony, to work harmoniously with other people, and also earn money at the same time because it's in Cancer. They're always kind of drawing stuff towards them, is paramount to him. With her moon is late in the sign. It's also void of course, or probably void of course, which means that it depends upon other factors in her chart to emotionally tell her how she's supposed to react. She's not really sure. She's not sure how she's supposed to feel about stuff. That's one of the things the void of course moon does. She's not sure about how she should feel about stuff. And the Scorpio moon is very much of introvert moon. It's the introvert confidant moon. And remember, what you're talking about with the moon is you have the moon is exalted in Taurus. It's the full is Scorpio. The Taurus moon is the confidant or the colleague of the rulership positions, the external positions. The full moon is the confidant to the internal or personal positions, which with the moon are Libra, not Libra, Aquarius and Capricorn, the 2 Saturn ruled signs. And then it's the confidant to that, which makes sense if you think of Aquarius and Capricorn. Who would they talk with? They talk with Scorpio, right? In other words, it's Saturn. Who would Saturn talk to that it can depend upon? It's going to talk with Mars, right? Which is the ruler of Scorpio. So for her way of dealing with the Scorpio, that Scorpio energy when she's really kind of at a loss is the Mars in Sagittarius. Physical activity, working out, dancing. This was always her way to get herself emotionally back in line and figure out once she danced, she could see how she felt about it, right? With him, his moon is not void, of course. It knows where it wants to go. He's Cancer rising. Cancer rising people always know emotionally where they want to go. There's no problem. He has Venus there. He emotionally is very self-directed, Okay, he's very, very quick to pick up the clues of whatever else is going on. With the void, of course, moon, it sometimes is clueless. It's kind of on its own, and it's glacial. The moon in Scorpio is very glacial. It's frozen water, so it's very glacial. And the good thing about the Scorpio moon, it doesn't change its feelings very easily. It's very loyal. Once it develops something, it tends to get very fixed in that direction. So you have these two personalities with these two, the sun and the moon in the same signs. So there's a lot of overlap there, But once again, she has Venus in Gemini. She would tend to want to love someone who was a twin to her, right? A twin to her, and his Saturn in Gemini, he seems older. He's very tall. He plays Batman. He gives the impression of a father-like figure for her. And that's, something that, she appreciates. It can go both ways. The Saturn and Venus can go both ways in couples, but in this way, it's from the masculine to the feminine, to the Venus. We think that she has Libra rising, and he has Capricorn rising. So once again, that you get that 90-degree thing. They can accomplish stuff, but sometimes their approaches to life could run into loggerheads. They're 90 degrees to each other. These are the kind of people that when they sit down at a table, one person will sit here, the other one will sit around the corner. They won't tend to sit across from each other as much. They'll tend to sit at 90 degrees to each other. That's what happens when you have your risings at in that position. Where if you had the opposite risings, you'll tend to sit on either side of the table. If you have the same risings, you both want to sit on the same side. So, what you're going to do? Let's see. What else do we have going on between the two charts? Because Uranus is slow moving, they have the Uranus in the same sign. This is kind of interesting. Where Jennifer has Pluto in Virgo, Pluto was really tripping along because it was from 1969 to 72. Pluto moved into Libra. So he has Pluto in Libra on her Uranus and Jupiter in Libra. Well, that's kind of interesting because Pluto does have a bit of a tendency towards obsessiveness. It's in the sign of Libra. Ben has it in the 4th house of the home, of the family, right? And she has the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Libra. He could have really been carrying like a bit of an obsessive torch for her for a bunch of years in the interim between the two times when they've been together. This is a guy with, a Scorpio moon. They hold stuff deep. This is a guy with Mars and Virgo. They want to get everything in order. That Pluto on her Uranus Jupiter could really signify that, especially because she has those so close to the rising. She becomes kind of the image of what he wants to have. And his Juno, his marriage asteroid, would be, if this chart is right, which is conjunct his Uranus, would be conjunct her ascendant. And the interesting with Juno conjunct Uranus, he would tend to want to marry someone in the 4th house. In his 4th house, he'd want to marry someone who was very exciting, someone who is also quite different. I mean, Ben Affleck is pretty much as white bread as you could imagine, right? And he falls in love with a beautiful Latina from Bronx, New York. He's born in Berkeley. She's born in the Bronx. I mean, that's definitely, he was a singer and a dancer and an actress. I mean, that's definitely marrying someone who's exciting, who's an artist, who's very different, right? She symbolizes home to him. She symbolizes home. Remember, his son's in the 2nd house. Her son's in the 11th house. She symbolizes, stability. 2nd house and 4th house. Those are the big connections for them. So you can see why when they were younger, especially when the Mars energy, that Mars square would have been, when we're younger, our Mars energy is just more prominent. It's a little less tameable. So when they were younger, the Mars energy would have caused a lot of conflicts. That square would have caused a lot of conflict. When they were younger, the fact that they both needed the spotlight would have caused more problems. It's possible that as they've gotten older now, She's born in 69, he's born in 72. They are not, as they say, spring chickens. They're not old, but they're at a point in their life where they are more kind of accepting and more willing to maintain their own space. When you're younger, you're willing to surrender your space with the other person. As you've gotten older, both these people are very wealthy. They have more resources. They don't need to completely surrender their own space to be happy together. Very interesting combination. These charts have been sitting on my desk for weeks now, and as I've been looking at them every now and then, it's so interesting to have two Leos with Scorpio moons be in love. So that's Jennifer Lopez, Ben Affleck, the conclusion of our little 3-part series related to couples. And so please come back and see us on Tuesdays when we do our portraits. We try to do one every week, or we do something every week that's different, because on Fridays we do our forecast for the coming week. That's based upon the little day blocks inside the planetary calendar. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel and push that little bell so you get reminded when they come up, because that way you'll have an idea of what's going on. And if you really want to know what's going on, make sure you go to planetarycalendar.com and get your day planner or your calendar that comes in 2 different sizes, or your pocket version or your digital version, so you know what's going on in the sky and hopefully here on Earth. Until next time, be well.